Can life have meaning without God?
What does it even mean for life to have meaning? That's an extraordinarily nebulous concept in and of itself, and I mean to explore the matter, because I have the means to do so, and I'm probably going to be mean about it. Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. The meaning of life. Does life even have meaning? What does it mean if it doesn't? What do we do if it does? Questions that have plagued humanity for just about ever. I have my own opinions on the matter, but first let's hear from a godbother about it, since he clearly seems to have his as well.
From many of my atheist and secular friends, I regularly hear people tell me, I don't need to believe in God to be happy or fulfilled or to live some kind of meaningful life. Well, whilst I respect where that's coming from, I want to respectfully say I'm afraid you can't. If there is no God, there is no meaning. Let me tell you why. If we live in a godless universe, then I guess what some people would say is, well, the meaning to be found is the meaning that personally works for you. So go out and embrace some cause that brings meaning and significance to your life.
Well, yeah. As long as you've found some sort of fulfillment, your life has had meaning. But that fulfillment isn't required to be a cause. It need only be something that has brought you a sense of purpose.
But I'm afraid that doesn't work, because what happens when those meanings clash? For example, suppose that you decide your meaning of life is going to be to embrace the cause of environmentalism. You send large donations to Greenpeace, you install solar panels on the roof, you even drive a clockwork Toyota Prius. You could not possibly be any greener. But then you meet a friend at work who's decided that the purpose of her life is going to be to have a carbon footprint bigger even than Bigfoot's. So she's installed a vast coal-fired gas turbine power generator in her garden shed. She kills baby seals and makes them into gloves for a hobby. And she even drives a Hummer. In fact, 2 of them. You couldn't find somebody who is less environmentally friendly. Your meaning of life and your colleague's meaning of life completely clash. How do you resolve that?
What needs resolving exactly? My meaning in life is different from somebody else's. And? I think part of the problem here is conceptual. This fellow seems to think that meaning and purpose of life has to be some grand quest that unifies humanity, and so everyone's meaning of life has to be compatible. But when secular people talk about the meaning of life, they tend to be talking more about their own individual life's meaning. They're asking, how can I be significant? What do I need to do to be more than just a user of resources, a placeholder nobody? How do I mean something? How do I contribute? That my manner of making waves is incompatible with someone else's doesn't negate my purpose. Indeed, if that clash didn't exist, it might well negate the meaning in my life, making what I'm doing unnecessary. Life is full of conflict, and barely anybody agrees on the right thing to do. That's part of finding our meaning.
You can't appeal upwards because we live in an atheistic world, you've said, right? There is no God. What do? You're reduced, I guess, to fighting it out, and we can see how many people we can align behind us and try and defeat the other one. And you see, meaning has collapsed.
I don't want my meaning assigned to me. That doesn't give my life meaning. If anything, it gives me a task, and one I might not agree with. It reduces me to a minion, to a lackey. But conflict brings meaning. Consider people who fight for equal rights. Do you think they don't feel their life has meaning? They want to make the world a better place. And sure, some people think the world is better if they're on top and other people are treated as second class or worse. Thus, conflict. And out of conflict comes purpose. And thus, meaning.
You see, what if? What if meaning cannot actually come from within? What if meaning has to be something that's given to us from outside?
Well, that's a big ol' what if, isn't it? Can you show that's the case? Because so far, all I'm hearing is that if different people have a different meaning to their lives, well, you don't like that, and so you say they don't have any meaning at all. But can you prove this is so? Can you show that meaning must come from without? Frankly, I think meaning is subjective, personal, it's emotional. If meaning doesn't mean something to us, then how is it truly meaning at all?
Let's imagine that you and I both pick up a copy of Richard Dawkins' best-selling book on atheism, The God Delusion, but we decide we're going to find our own meaning in the book.
And now we're getting into the typical theist wordplay, because we've shifted the term meaning now from purpose and significance to interpretation. The word meaning has multiple definitions, and now we've gone from one to the other as if it's somehow a valid argument.
Well, we meet each other in the pub one day, and we end up having a massive fight about the meaning we have both found in the God delusion. And then who should walk in the door of the pub but Richard Dawkins himself? He looks at the two of us rolling around on the floor, trading blows, and says, "What are you two jokers fighting about?" And we tell him. And he looks at us and he says, "Well, hang on a minute. Let me clear it up for you. I am the author of that book, and I can tell you its meaning."
He can certainly tell us what he intended, but anything can be argued with. Someone might have their facts wrong, someone's logic might be flawed, someone's intentions might be nasty, subversive, or dangerous. What we have here is a typical argument from authority, aka appeal to authority, logical fallacy. Just because someone is an authority on a topic doesn't make them automatically correct regarding it.
Well, on this occasion, the good Professor Dawkins would in fact be right, because as the author of the book, he can indeed put meaning into the book from outside. Now, we see that goes for books. What about life? If there is an author, if there is a creator, then life can have a meaning. But just as if the Richard Dawkins book was actually just created by an explosion in the Scrabble factory, causing the letter tiles to fall randomly on the ground, there would be no meaning in the book. Likewise, if life is just a cosmic accident, life can have no meaning.
The only people I ever hear describe the atheist view of the universe as random accident are theists, proving they don't understand it. But again, meaning is personal, just as interpretation of a book is personal. It can be flawed, it can be argued with, it can be nasty or dangerous, and it can be perfectly lovely and sound. It's only when meaning must be universal, the nature of which must be so regardless of anybody's opinion or perspective, that you start running into arguments like these. So the debate here is really about the nature of a life's meaning, and not whether that meaning can exist.
But the Christian worldview says something far more exciting than that. It doesn't just tell us there is a God, there is a creator, there is an author, and therefore there is a meaning of life. But it tells us that creator, that author, that God has stepped into history in the person of Jesus Christ. In fact, history is his story. And he invites us not just to discover the abstract meaning of life, but to know that meaning of life through a relationship with Jesus Christ.
I don't find that exciting at all. I find it obnoxious, because many of the people who think that this Jesus meaning is correct, indeed that its very source is real despite the absence of evidence, feel the need to impose it on the rest of us, like it or not. That's one of the several purposes I've given my own life, fighting against that imposition.
Christianity says, yes, there is a meaning of life, but that meaning is not an abstract idea, not a concept, not a philosophy, but a person who can be known. Jesus Christ. And the question is simply, do we not just want to know life's meaning in the abstract, but do we want to know life's meaning personally? I hope that you do.
All he says is that life's meaning is Jesus Christ. Okay. And then what? What's the goal here? I mean, I seem to recall that the only reason Jesus ever existed in the first place was to die in order to make up for some illegal apple picking thousands of years ago. Clearly, life was not created with that in mind, not from the start. So unless Jesus existed to say, oh, yeah, right, life's meaning, well, let me explain why Adam and Eve were built, which I'm pretty sure he didn't do. The idea that he's the meaning of life doesn't really follow logically. At best, Jesus is a band-aid. And they can't even prove he's real, much less really the son of a god that they also can't prove exists. You'll have to pardon me if my skirt isn't blown up by this concept. Bottom line, make your own purpose in life. Find something that makes you happy or benefits other people or whatever, and embrace it. Maybe someone can help you find it, but you don't need someone to assign it to you. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is Bionic Dance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think. You've got two choices. You can rate this video and share it everywhere across social media, or I can send my minions after you. Choose wisely.